you have to kind of not give a fuck. And why I say that is far too often we're concerned with other people's perceptions, what people think of us, what we should be doing. It could be your parents, it could be your spouse, it could be, your job. They have all of these, you should be doing this, right? And again, in order to operate in your peak life, you have to be doing what makes you happy. And you may make a lot of people that are not you unhappy, and you have to be okay with that, right? And then the second thing, it does take a level of humbleness, right? I think that's what you have, right? You realize that at some point, you've kind of plateaued where you can get yourself. And in order to get to that next level, you need somebody that's already at that level that can kind of show you. And to me, I need that as well.
Welcome to the Your Peak Life podcast. Let's conquer the summit of life and reach the apex of our potential.
Hi, good afternoon. How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Your Peak Life podcast. Today we got a special guest, Dapper Luq himself. We have a 20 plus year relationship that we have established and kind of supported each other. So it was important for me to have him on here when I think of someone living their peak life, right? Living to the fullest in all aspects when it comes to a businessman, prior naval career, a father, husband, mentor, Dapper Luq, Gino, as I call him, is one of the first people that kind of comes to my mind. Gino, pleasure having you, my brother.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on the show. Like you said, it's been a long time we've known each other. And it's funny to me because, when you think back of milestones in your life, right, you were definitely a milestone for me. When I first walked on board the ship, in the Navy, back in 1998, remember like it was yesterday. And like you were one of the first friendly faces to speak to me, kind of greet me. So, I've always told you I'm forever indebted to you for that. So, yes, absolutely.
I appreciate you, man. Same here. We built a friendship to what it is today, and
Absolutely.
Which is, doing business together. Anytime there's an event, you're the first name that comes out. I need a suit, right? I need to look different, and I need to also support my boys, right? If I'm going to go somewhere to get a quality suit, right? If I want to look my best, I already have a boy who's in the industry.
Absolutely.
So, you've been kind of, been my fashion guy going back to, holiday Christmas parties. And I've always wanted to be the one to, set the standard.
Absolutely.
When I walk in a room, I want people to be like, oh, yeah.
And trust me, I'm the same way, and that's kind of, I think a little bit of kind of how our pathways went a little bit different. You went into the real estate game, right? And that was your thing. So I knew when I was ready to buy a house, I used you as an agent, right? And even prior to that, when I was out of the area for a couple of years and I came back, the first person I reached out to find somewhere to live was you. And I wanted to, renting your house for, almost a year. And then, I think it was probably halfway through my Navy career. I knew, at some point Navy career's got to come to an end. And for me, I've always, had a love for fashion. Like you say, care about the way I dress. And the suit world, I didn't know necessarily I would be in the suit world, but I just feel like, one thing that people don't try to do is age, right? They always want to hold on to their youth, right? And that's cool, I get it, but to me, the suit is like grown man, gentleman, and I just think those are the kind of aspects that I really like and I enjoy. So if I'm going to be in the fashion world, that's what kind of drew me in. So.
Awesome. And it's a different feeling, right? When you put on, me getting dressed this morning, usually Fridays I kind of dress it up. Today was gloomy. I threw on my jeans, threw on my sneakers, threw on my hoodie. It's a different feeling than if I threw on the Dapper Luq special with the custom, name on the inside, the Iron Valley logo on the inside breast, and you just feel like $1,000,000. I believe that when you are putting on one of your suits, it makes you just feel that you're operating at a different level.
Absolutely.
And the interaction you get with people, right?
Correct. I think, and that's kind of another reason why I like to operate in this space. I think people underestimate their look, right? People have said it all the time. If you look good, you feel good, you produce good, right? If you're not confident, if you're not comfortable in what you're wearing, you're not going to perform because you're constantly thinking about, how do I look? How do people perceive me? So if your clothes are comfortable, they're fitted to you, and they look good, you're going to perform well. So, I definitely, that's always a joy to me, is when I have people who don't really wear suits and I put them in a nice tuxedo. I put them in a nice suit that fits them correctly and it looks good. And their reaction when they come out of that dressing room, oh yeah, it's like $1 million, and I love to have that feeling just each time. And then, like you say, folks that I know that like to wear it, giving them something new, giving them something unique that's no one else is going to have. I like that feeling as well. So absolutely.
So Gino, we invite our guest on here, and we like to ask, peak life, right?
Okay.
What does living your peak life mean to you?
So for me, living my peak life is operating in a realm where I'm waking up every day happy with what I'm doing, right? I feel as though I'm operating in a space that I'm doing what I want to do. To me, the peak life has nothing to do with financials, right? Because money come, money go. You stack a bunch of money, you're going to give it to somebody else, right? But are you waking up every single day and happy with what you're doing, right? If so, you are living your peak life, right? I have 2 boys, that are 22 and 18, right? And I tell them all the time, success is what you deem it, right? I can't tell you what success is to you. You have to tell me what you think it is, and I'll help you get there, right? But people always live off of, you have the potential to be this, potential to be that. But what if the person that has the potential doesn't want to do that, doesn't like what they have the potential to be? They could be a 5-star athlete. What if they want to be a surgeon, right? So for me, again, a peak life is doing what you want to do each and every day and feeling successful at it.
What were, you obviously didn't just start living your peak life.
Absolutely not. No.
Right? So, we go back to when we were teenagers. But what are some obstacles that you had to face in order to get to where you're at today? Right now, you are basically one of one.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Right. And we've had this conversation off screen, but I think it's important to bring up right now. Where I am, I have the ability to reach out and get mentorship from within. And my story, it led, or I'm here because of that. Me seeking that guidance. I reached out to Mike Little. He kind of opened the doors for me. Eric Edwards opened the doors for me. And now I'm here. I still seek guidance from other people, but they're still there, right? As having more experience, being an owner of a real estate company for longer than I have, been in, high production and sales for many years. So they still have the ability to guide me. So my journey was a little, I would say, easier, right?
I wouldn't say that. I don't think it's easier, right? So this is the one thing, for me, what I think kind of got me to where I am, right? So I think it's 2 key things, right? First of all, you have to not give a fuck, right? I don't know if I can cuss on here, but you have to kind of not give a fuck. And why I say that is far too often we're concerned with other people's perceptions, what people think of us, what we should be doing. It could be your parents, it could be your spouse, it could be, your job. They have all of these, you should be doing this, right? And again, in order to operate in your peak life, you have to be doing what makes you happy. And you may make a lot of people that are not you unhappy, and you have to be okay with that, right? And then the second thing, it does take a level of humbleness, right? I think that's what you have, right? You realize that at some point, you've kind of plateaued where you can get yourself. And in order to get to that next level, you need somebody that's already at that level that can kind of show you. And to me, I need that as well, right? And like you said, we've talked about this before, the real estate industry is an industry in that there's a lot of people in that industry. I'm in a custom suit industry. There's not a lot of people in my industry, right? But it doesn't stop me from reaching out, seeking guidance, and even talking to somebody that I consider my peers in my industry. And I do that not necessarily to help me, but in order to kind of give me a guiding, you know what I'm saying? Am what I'm doing and what I'm thinking, is that kind of in line with everyone in the industry? And a lot of times you'll see that it is, right? And, just recently I had a conversation with a gentleman who's a clothier in Atlanta. And it's kind of funny because, me looking at him on social media, I thought he was like, leaps and bounds ahead of me, right? But then he and I actually had a mutual friend that connected us and we had a conversation. And when I talked to him, I'm like, we're pretty much neck and neck in how we operate. Yes, he has a bigger location in Atlanta, but the same challenge that I face, the same obstacles that I have, the same, kind of doubts that I have, he has, right? So I'm not far off in how I think and how I operate, you know what I'm saying? Because someone else that's doing it in another location that I see is like up here is like, when they talk to me, they're like, we can have a, genuine conversation because we're like in the same realm, you know what I'm saying?
The power of
Correct.
social media.
Absolutely.
Right? The power of social media, which is tremendous.
Yeah.
In the same line, Taina, my daughter Taina recently got licensed. Okay. And she comes to me and say, hey, I want to be like this person on social media. They're killing it. So I'm looking at their social media and I'm, giggling to myself, right? Because she doesn't really know. When I look up the numbers of production, that person has sold 2 or 3 homes. And, then when I show her the numbers behind the social media, she's like, wow. She's been licensed 4 months and has sold 5 houses.
Yeah.
So
the person that you're looking up to that you think is like here, when it really, you kind of, as they say, pull the curtain back, you see it. Sometimes it's just smoke and mirrors, right?
Yeah, men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
Absolutely.
It's what I love to live by. But that's a good, kind of in line with what we were talking about. Good example of where, social media could be. I mean, I'm not telling people to not use it to
Absolutely
their benefit,
not.
right?
In my opinion, social media, we use the term, the world is flat, right? I am able to reach out and touch folks in, India, China, Africa with just a few clicks, and a few words, right? I don't have to physically travel there. So it makes, people, that you do look up to, you can see them, you can talk to them, you can contact them. So in that regard, yes, it is great. But like you just said, you have to be aware that, everything that looks flashy ain't always such, you know what I'm saying, as well.
That's a fact. I was having a conversation with someone earlier today, and they informed me that you got a client coming in from Texas, right? Coming in from out the state, based on word of mouth, right? And they're coming from Texas, getting a suit from you. How is that? How does that make you feel?
I mean, like, overall, I understand that, I'm good at what I do, right? Not to be, kind of what they say, boastful or, brag, but I am really confident in what I do, right? And then for me, I understand what I'm bringing, right? I also understand that I'm bringing an element that is not always there. So, people say all the time, I want this and I want that. But when that comes, are you ready for it, right? And I think I put myself in a position knowledge-wise, experience-wise, and just, not being afraid to fail, that when things come to me, I'm ready for them. So, it definitely makes me excited. I always, like I said, love to have a new client. And I think I position myself to be able to do that. So that's why I like it.
You put yourself in a position to give people goals.
Absolutely.
And let me a little bit go into it a little bit. I've heard several people say, I can't wait till I get my first Dapper Luq.
Yeah.
It's a different level of, it's a different experience.
Absolutely.
And it goes in line with maybe even your professional goals, right? If I sell X amount of houses, or if I get to this point in my career, I'm going to go and get me a custom suit with my name and logo in it. And it's going to make me feel like, $1 million.
Yeah. Definitely feels good. I mean, and it's funny you say that because I've had people that have come to me and they say that, like you said, my suit is a reward for them for, like you say, selling or having a great quarter. And that feels good to me, right? And then even for me, like, I am definitely a person that I don't like to kind of chase labels, right? I'm more comfortable if the things that I have on, the brands that I'm wearing, if I know the person, I can reach out and touch them. My watch, is Tally and Twine. I actually know the owner of Tally and Twine, Randy Williams out there in Portsmouth. What's up, my brother? If you're watching, love the watches. But I mean, for me, like, to me, that's what makes me feel good, that I can reach out and I can support folks that, like you said, that that you have some type of actual, relationship with, can connect to them. And then that it's going to be of a high quality. If you can have all those things and the person, to me, that is, like you say, living your peak life. If you can wear and represent brands of people that that feels good.
Awesome. I often say the way to success is by capitalizing on the strengths of the circles you're already in.
Absolutely.
And even in my example, you're a living testament of it. I don't need to figure out if I need a suit where I'm going to go to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If someone asks me, hey, Edwin, Junebug, Rodriguez, whatever they call me, the many names I have, right? I'm looking for a suit. It's easy. This is my boy, Dapper Luq. Check him out. Boom. It's already done. If someone comes to me and says, hey, I need... I want to build a custom home. I got my boy Juan Aponte. He's a custom home builder. He's already there. These are relationships that have built throughout my career, and even just me as an adult and a business person coming up. I built these relationships in order for us to just grow together.
Absolutely.
And it's also an asset for me, right? Having the information makes you an asset.
Absolutely. Because people now, they can come to you and, like you say, they need custom home, they need home repair, they need custom suits, they need to sell a home, they need, a doggone person to actually finance the home. Like, you've got those connections. And yeah, I definitely agree with you in the sense that, you want to put yourself in a position where, people can rely on you to get information, and then your peers, they can rely on you. Okay, you're not going to send me anybody that's going to be, not worth my time. They understand if you send them your way, that person has been somewhat vetted. They understand the level they're coming into, and they expect to get a good, high quality product, whatever they're going to deliver. So,
yeah. We have children around the same age.
Mm-hmm.
Our children are actually friends. But,
yep.
Where do you see them in the business, or do you see them at all? Which this is a kind of off the wall question, but which I never even asked you. We've never even talked about that. Where do you see LJ and Josh, and Sabria possibly in the future? Do you see them involved or not?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I do. So, one of the things that, as a person that's a business owner, right, very few times you think about the end, right? You're in the game, you're in the business, and you're worried about day-to-day operations, right? But, you also have to be in mind what is going to happen once I'm done. Am I going to sell this business? Is this business going to merge with another business? Or is this a legacy business? Is my family going to take it over from me and it'll be in our family forever, right? Ideally, my business will remain in the family, right? Dapper Luq, although it's my name on it, right? The family can take it over. I got 2 boys in college. LJ is getting ready to graduate, in 2024, right? Ideally, come work for dad. But, if he wants to spend a couple years in the world and kind of see what's going on out there, the business isn't going anywhere, right? But ultimately, this is an asset that I'd like to have within the family. And that would be, if my children don't take it over, maybe my grandchildren take it over. Maybe I have a niece or a nephew that takes it over, right? But ideally, I would like it to stay in the family and kind of be something that we can always have. I've heard a couple stories about people that are in the watch industry, right? And it's like, well, how did you get in the watch industry? Oh, my great grandfather loved the watches, and we've just kind of had I kind of want that. I can be the great granddad that loves suits, right? And the suit game has been in the industry, the family for 3, 4, generations. So that's kind of how I ideally would see it. And if not that, then, possibly selling it. I kind of, have, this is not written in stone, but, my kind of number is 60, right? When I'm 60 years old, I kind of want to step away from, like day-to-day operations and running the business. And then we'll kind of see, is LJ going to take it over? Is Josh going to take it over? Is Sabria going to take it over? I don't know. But ideally, one of them will be in a position where they at least understand and they know. And perhaps, even if they're not running day-to-day operations, again, we keep the overall ownership within the family.
I kind of have the same mindset. My goal is definitely to set up Eli and Taina to be a part of the company and to run it if they're capable and ready at the time.
Yeah.
Because my number is not 60. My number is 55.
55, okay.
I got 11 years.
Okay.
Right? I got 11 years to basically step back. I got 10, 11 good years that I can go 100 miles per hour like we're doing right now because you know how busy we are, right?
Absolutely.
But after that point, I think that's where I want to take a step back.
So let me ask you this. At 55, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? Because at 55, you're not an old man.
Yeah, at 55, I'm overseeing. I have different developments.
So you're more of a, what do you call it, consultant, in a consultant role at that point.
Correct.
But you're still working.
Still working. I think I'm
Me
gonna
at 60, I'm not working.
You not working?
I'm not working.
Yeah.
So, I'll give it an extra 5 years so that I can completely walk away. And then hopefully at that point, I'll have established enough assets that I'm still getting money coming in, but literally I want to be hands off at that point. Maybe a phone call, hey, we got an emergency or just a situation. But at 60, I want to be completely done. I want to be as remote as possible on some island, just my investments, giving me my day-to-day money and just maybe even traveling. I don't know.
I hear that, right? But when I think of me, I don't think I'll ever not work. I
think you say that, but
and maybe, it changes, right?
Correct.
It changes as you get over. I take my dad, for example. My dad's 65, 65 years old, and he's still rocking. He can't sit still. He's too boring. What am I gonna do? He has a couple of buildings that he manages. He does his own labor. You know what I mean? He's in there fixing pipes and changing out toilets and painting apartments once they vacate. He does his own stuff to keep himself busy. He complains about it, but he still don't hire someone else.
He needs something to keep his day going. Yeah. I definitely see that. I think, for me at that point, I'll probably have to kind of, get into a hobby. Maybe I'll start writing at that time. Maybe I'll do, painting. I don't know. I definitely know, I'm not going to just be sitting and watching, Wheel of Fortune, every day.
Yeah.
But I think as far as at that point, if I'm doing anything, it's not to get a paycheck. It's not to earn. It's going to be something I want to do, like you say, to just occupy my time, not just simply, I need this or I ain't eating or my rent or my lights going to get turned off. You know what I'm saying? So.
Where is Dapper Luq 5 years from now?
I would say 5 years from now, we have 3 locations, right? We currently have 2. Baltimore, Virginia Beach. I'm probably going to have a third one, I would say in the next probably 2 years is my goal. And then I want to open up a factory, overseas. I'm looking at India right now as kind of having a factory. And then having a online kind of e-commerce presence kind of is what I'd like to have in the next 5 years. 5 years will put me in my late 40s, so I'm still going to be, day-to-day operations, still working, right? I'm not going to be winding down. But definitely at least, one more location, hopefully working on a factory, if not already good to go, and definitely have, an e-commerce online presence. So that way, we can begin to do seasonal collections, a fall blazer, fall sport coats, summer suits, right? And you're able to, purchase orders on that limited collection. We'll be producing them in our factories. And then we'll be able to do within our factory orders from other places, India, UK, all throughout the US as well. So, still growing, still expanding, still learning, but definitely want to have, a definite foothold within this industry, you know what I'm saying? And maybe even set some industry standards, I think that's another big thing that we kind of, I know within your industry, you're kind of setting standards, like with the podcast, with a lot of the things that Iron Valley is doing, you guys are setting industry standards in this area. I kind of want to do that as well. So yeah.
Dope. What else? What else is Dapper Luq? Like, what else? People know you as the fly guy, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy because, most people don't know like our history.
Mm-hmm.
So when I come across someone and they say, yeah, Dapper Luq's my boy, man. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's my boy too, and I just let them, talk or whatever. But it's really, and I joke around about it a lot, but it's like having a celebrity homeboy. So that's always a good feeling.
Yeah. But I mean, that just is, I think, the level of detail and the level that I put myself in, right? To me, I don't consider myself a celebrity. I'll just say that, right? But I definitely know that I kind of have an aura. And that's because I'm very
Rick James
aware. I watched the Rick James documentary, really good rock documentary. But I'm just aware of when I go out and when I carry myself, how to do so. And then I utilize social media, right? Like nowadays, people are, social media famous, right? But I'm just, I'm aware. I take care of what I do, and then I have I think an amazing brand, right? So when you kind of have all those elements. Yeah, it definitely, it kind of lends towards, somewhat of a celebrity. But I'm just a regular guy. Come up to me, shake my hand, talk to me. To me, it still freaks me out when folks know me. I have no idea who they are, right? They'll say my name like, hey, and I'll be like, where do I know you from? But I mean, outside of that, I'm just a regular. I'm the same guy you knew, on the ship. I have not changed. I ain't driving no Maserati. I ain't taking private jets. I'm just the same old guy. No, I don't think I ever will, to be honest with you. No. That's a waste of money in my opinion. I'd rather put that on investments, right? I'm not gonna make this money to go give it to the guy that's flying a plane. I'm gonna make this money and put it in my investments.
And then you rent it out and make an income off that.
Okay, that is another way. Yeah. But
there's more than one way. But yeah, I got you. I'm tracking though.
Yeah.
I'm tracking. What do you feel? How do you feel your 20 plus years of naval service or being in the military? How do you feel that has impacted your career now?
I definitely. So for me, this is kind of what the Navy did for me. It got me out of Baltimore, right? Prior to that, other than like family vacation, I'd never been out of Baltimore, right? So Navy got me out of Baltimore, right? It gave me a very structured life, right, for 20 plus years. So as a result, I think I run a very structured business. I have to have, always tracking every movement of every order and understanding who does this and why they do it, right? And then on top of that, right, it definitely gave me a world view. Like a lot of people, they don't see beyond their neighborhood or their city because they've never been beyond the neighborhood. Other than what they see on TV and social media, it's kind of opened us up more. But, like I said, we grew up in the 90s, right? We just had cable TV. We didn't have social media. So the Navy got me out of that area, right? Now, when I got into business, I realized that the Navy also, with its structure and with so much kind of, things around you, it made me comfortable, right? So when I was in a business where everything relied on me, I didn't have the backstop of the military, I realized I had anxiety, right? Because I had a fear of what I did not know. In the military, you always know what's coming up, to an extent, unless you're going to war, right? But for the most part, you've got a training cycle, you've got day-to-day operations, you've got a chain of command. You kind of know how things are going to be. But in the world of business, you don't always have those things. Matter of fact, you don't have those things. I know in my industry, right? So, it helped me have a good structure in business, and then it also definitely gave me a worldview and not afraid to definitely get outside of my comfort zone is what I think the military done for me.
Yeah, it definitely helped you because I remember a story. First time you coming straight from Baltimore. He was a different type of guy back then.
Yeah. I wasn't letting anybody talk to me any old kind of way, right?
Yeah. Which a lot of people probably don't know that side of you.
No, they don't.
You know?
And well, that side of me is definitely gone, definitely matured out, right?
Yeah.
They used to call me Smoking Joe, right? But, that was, I think, just young me, right? I think as a young person, right, you a lot of times get offended when people say things or you feel like they're disrespecting you. A lot of times they just don't know you. They just don't understand you. So it may not be necessarily disrespect per se.
It's where we're from.
It's just
When
where you're from,
the inner city.
Correct. And if somebody want to, do something, say something, they got to be willing to back it up, right? And yes, that's definitely not me anymore. I'm definitely more apt to be like, it just ain't worth my time. I'll just move on. You're not worth my energy. And when when you're in the military and if you do anything, you get in trouble. They take your freedom and they take your money. So I didn't want to give up my freedom. I didn't want to keep giving them my money. So
Yep. You definitely got a reputation after that. Like you were like a black belt ninja from Baltimore. Like the story started, But that was look, man, it's always great, connecting with you. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's been great, watching you develop into who you are today overall as a man, as a business person, and just as my homie. So it's always great to connect, and I know we connect on a regular basis, so I want to continue to grow our relationship and, let's take it to where we never thought possible.
Absolutely.
And I think that's ultimately, my goal. When I talk about my peak life, I'm living my peak life.
Absolutely.
Every day I'm around people who I want to be around. I'm around people who I want to build around. So I'm living my peak life. Now I'm just trying to see how far we can go.
And then I think also, you're helping other people find their peak life, right? And I think that's very important, right? I think part of living in your peak life, it's not always about, like I say, possessions, right? Like I got the biggest car, I got the biggest house, right? At some point, it's got to be like, okay, how are you helping other people? And you're definitely doing that in what you do every day. So, continue to do that.
Appreciate it, man. But we're out of here till next week. Tune in. Appreciate Dapper Luq coming in. He has just tons of energy and a great product. You looking for a suit? That's your guy. Thanks. See you guys.